SQL has the ability to work with XML as well. So that way, if we're maybe receiving XML from another system, or we need to be able to send XML out the door to another system, we can do that through SQL Server. Now, before we get into other lessons covering how we're going to work with XML inside of SQL, I figured it'd be best if we turned our attention to the basics of XML, so that way we know what XML is. XML, as it turns out, stands for Extensible Markup Language. So it really should be EML rather than XML, but as we all know, X's are just cooler than E's, so it's XML instead. When you get right down to it, XML, at its most basic, is really just a way to format a text file to format text data. That really is it. Now, why use XML? Well, XML is used to store documents, exchange information between systems, or maybe even format information for eventual display out to a user. XML in and of itself is an open standard, and it's defined by the World Wide Web Consortium or the W3C. By the way, if you want more information about XML and a lot of the surrounding technologies, you can go check out the W3C's website at www.w3.org. That, of course, leads us perfectly into those surrounding technologies, one of which we're going to discuss a little bit later, which is schemas, but another one is a style sheet, which allows you to take one form of XML and convert that into something else. Maybe a text file, maybe another form of XML, or maybe actually HTML for display out to a user. An XML document is made up of a couple of main components. The first of which is what's known as an element, or sometimes known as a tag. The goal of our elements or tags is to define the structure of our data as well as to describe the data. And that's one of the greatest benefits of XML, is the element names that we use are there to help provide what's known as metadata, or basically data about data. It's there to help define our data. Now, elements could contain text, could contain attributes, and could even contain additional elements. On the flip side, attributes are going to allow us to further describe an element. Now, the one big thing about an attribute is that an attribute is only allowed to have text data. One of the great things about XML is the fact that you can create any element and any attribute that you might want. So that way you can use this to format your data in any structure, any format that's going to be needed for your application. The catch, however, is the fact that, well, anybody else can define whatever elements, whatever attributes it is that they might want. As a result, you're going to notice that XML has some rules.